Oh, hello, good morning. It is still morning, right? That was a mouthful. Wow. Good morning, my brothers and sisters. I know that this is a Latino organization, right? But today we are all Latinos. We are all brothers and sisters, and what a privilege it is for me to be here. And she read a lot of titles, right? And that's always so strange to me because I lead from the heart, and I've always been that way. And if you see my background, you see the heart, right? We are in the heart of the Bronx, and what that means geographically is that our district is right in the middle of the Bronx, literally, right? But also you have to have heart to work with me and with our beautiful children. So I just want to thank you for inviting me today, and what an honor it is for me to be here. And thank you, Edgar Palacios and Susana, for providing me with this opportunity. And I don't know if you see my storyboard. Let me see my storyboard. Is that, there we go. So we're in the middle of Bushwick, Brooklyn, under the trains, and I was born and raised in Brooklyn. And you see the Brooklyn Bridge on the left-hand side, and then you see on the bottom right my commute to the Bronx. A nice 2-hour commute in the morning, right? But I spent the majority of my career in one school in Brooklyn as a teacher, mostly. But then I had the honor and the privilege of becoming the vice principal and then the principal of that school. Then I went on to other endeavors before I became the superintendent of Community School District 12, which has 15,000 students and ranges now newly from 3-year-olds. We're going to get 3-year-olds in September, which I'm super excited about. But we range from 3 years old now to the 12th grade. So it's a 70% Latino population mostly, and 26% African American, and 3% Asian. So we're growing, and with the pandemic, we have managed to keep the majority of our students, and that's super exciting for us. It's been a challenge for all of us. I know that, and leading from the heart. After a pandemic like this, if you don't have it, you wouldn't have been successful. And I want to say that our children have been taken care of, and that's really what was the most important to me. And the other things that are important to me are family, right? And here we have a lot of my firsts. So the first wedding I ever was participated in, right? And I'm standing next to my grandfather, who means the world to me. And I have my first grandchild. He's 8 years old now, right? And he thinks he's grown. Then we have my son with the family nose, and I'm FaceTiming. That was during the pandemic, my daughter and I FaceTiming with him. And on the bottom is our logo, the Heart of the Bronx. So I'm very excited to be able to share with you today. And when I look at a storyboard like this, when I look at that, what resonates with me is family, right? And I was raised in a Latino family, in a Latino household, and as Latinos, we're family. Nosotros somos familia, right? And it's so important. It's so important to embrace that and to bring that into our work, and also the importance of participating in a Latinx education collaborative. To me, represents a professional organization that brings like-minded and like-hearted people together. And I've had the privilege of belonging to a professional organization like that. And it's very important that we seek each other out outside of our work so that we can learn and grow together, because we have very similar situations and we serve similar populations, right? And we need a space in order to engage with each other and in order to trust each other, right? And in the organization where I had the privilege of being a part of, it was my safe place. It was the place where I was able to air out my frustrations and listen to what my other colleagues were doing, and I didn't feel alone. So something like this is extremely important. So I commend you for taking the time out on a Saturday to increase your learning. So that's amazing. And in this work, so many times we feel alone, right? And especially if you're, you know, if you're a Latina or African American, right? Because why is it that the majority of our Black and Latino students are in public schools, but less than 2% of our superintendents are Latino, right? So we really need to step up, and we have to, our kids deserve that, right? In my Latino organization, one of the quotes that still resonates with me is a Spanish quote. And it says, si no yo, ¿quién? Si no es ahora, ¿cuándo? If not me, then who? And if it's not now, then when, right? And that takes courage, right? And so that's you. We are the courageous ones, and that's me. And you know why? Because our children deserve it. And we're all teachers here. I'm just a little bit more experienced, that's all, because I'm 24 years in, right? And the more time that passed within my career, the angrier I became. So I'm an angry Latina, so watch out, right? We all know what that can look like, because I saw more, and I saw more of the injustices that our children have faced. And it is my responsibility to do what I can in my little space, in my little world, in the little bit of influence that I have, to make sure that that any child that passes through my classroom, through my schools, through my district, has a chance to be competitive in this world, right? Because look at the education system in our country, and we have to know our history in order to be effective educators. It's our responsibility, right? And I used to hear that all along the way when I was teaching, and I didn't want to hear that. All I cared about was what was in front of me. I had to write that lesson plan. I had to meet this mandate. I was going to get observed tomorrow, you know, do. But sometimes we just forget who is in front of us, right? Because we're in the business of changing lives. That's how I see my work every single day, right? And the history of our education in this wonderful country that we're in is designed to teach us that the Western culture is the only way, right? And as Latinos and Blacks, what it means is to negate who we are and everything about our experience. And if you've read the book, The Miseducation of the Negro, if you've read it or haven't read it, please pick it up, because what it says is that when you tell a people to sit in the back of the bus long enough, they're going to start having not to be told, right? So education plays a role in perpetuating that. And colonized people are convinced that we're inferior, that we're unworthy, and that's the way our education system has been set up, whether we like to believe it or not, right? And in the colonial context, education always serves as a means to oppress, to inflict a self-hatred, right? To create a deep alienation of who we are, right? From our culture, our language, our traditions. And that's why we see violence in our own communities. Because once you start to hate yourself, you start to hate each other. Violence against each other, brother against brother, sister against sister. Education plays a critical role in liberating us from that, right? In affirming our identity, in the importance of educating our children in their tradition, in their culture, in their language, that they're okay. And all that stuff is entrenched in the curriculum, in assessments, and how you're evaluated, and how I'm evaluated as a superintendent, because we're evaluated in New York City, even during the pandemic, right? When teachers were not necessarily observed and principals were not necessarily, but superintendents were, right? And we have to disrupt that. And that's our charge. And you can start in your classroom, because there's wisdom in the tradition of our grandparents. That's who we are, right? And we're okay. And you saw me in a picture with my grandfather, who passed 40 years ago. I'm 51 years old. I was 11 years old when he died, and he's still so very much in my heart every single day. And I miss him every single day, right? And he's still that cool old guy that my first love, right? And I never allowed where I was to be a limitation of what was possible in my life, regardless of what I was told or made to feel like when I was a kid. And teachers, what a job we have, right? We have to help our children access education fully, despite the circumstances that they're in. Equity starts by acknowledging that we're not all equal, that some face greater challenges than others. And equity is about compensating for those challenges. If we don't know our children, how are we going to know what their challenges are, and how are we going to know what we can do? We have geniuses in our classrooms. Look at Obama, Martin Luther King, Cesar Chavez. They were sitting in classrooms with teachers. We have to teach like they're sitting in ours, because they are. And that's what a culturally competent teacher does. We have to learn to be more culturally competent. And how do we start to think of a child's potential, right? We start very simply. We start put up some signs and say, geniuses work here. Let them see that every day, right? Because seeing it, they'll believe it. Our job is to get kids excited about learning. Kids are naturally curious. So how do you use that curiosity as a driver for learning? And if you tap into that curiosity, kids will become motivated, independent learners. It'll take work on our part, right? Because planning for that is very difficult. And it's important to note that children must have a foundation, a solid foundation of their identity. Because when they do, they go into the world with confidence, clarity about who they are. They're able to solve problems and give back. And we are in the work of service. We are here to serve. Most importantly, what that means is that we're pouring something out of us and into them. And if we're empty, or we're conflicted, or we're hurting, that's difficult, right? So a lot of this is an inner work that's not acknowledged. It's not in that teacher evaluation rubric. It's not in that. It's not in anything written, but it's definitely something that we need, right? In order to be able to provide what our children need. That's our job. It's a calling. That's the bottom line. And it's a lonely job, right? But it's a wonderful thing to do with your life. And it's my life's work. So it's so important that we're doing the inner work, that we're healing ourselves. I'm 51 years old and still healing, right? And the more that I heal, the more love that I find. And that's why I'm so honored to be able to speak to you here. And I know that you're from all over the country. And who knew that a little girl from Williamsburg, Brooklyn, someone that was so afraid to ever speak publicly because I was insecure, because I was always told by my teachers that I couldn't do things, right? That resonates with me because it happened to me and I had to fight within myself. And we do that to children implicitly, right? And I've seen it and witnessed it explicitly in my work. And that's why I said that I was angry, because it's tragic what some do to our children. And it's our responsibility to make sure that it does not happen. And I'm talking to people all over this country that have the same heart. Because if you're an educator, you're in it for all the right reasons. And if you're not, it's certainly not because of the money. I can tell you that right now, right? We have to bring our full selves into this work, and we will be successful even though we don't feel it. And if you're thinking that you're going to get some reward right away, right? Because I didn't even start seeing my children when they will come back from graduation. 10 years later, that's how I knew I was getting old, right? When they will come, oh, I remember you said this. I don't remember your name, but I remember how you made me feel, right? So that's very real. And I brought that with me. And I try and make sure that my principals understand that if you have bias within you, your children will feel it, right? And our job is to make sure that we don't bring that into classrooms so that we're not doing damage to children. And we may have been doing it, right? I reflect on my practice all the time, because sometimes I feel like I've brought damage without meaning to. So we have to be aware of ourselves. And you have to affiliate yourself with organizations just like this, because that way you know you're not crazy. You know you're not alone. You can collaborate with each other and pick up the phone and say, I don't know what to do. And it's okay, right? Because when you're working with lives, every day is different, and you better be on your toes. And that's why you have to do that inner work so that you can bring that out. And I hope that you take whatever it is that you're about to engage in today, and you embrace it, and you think about it, and you reflect on it. And how do we start this work, right? How do we do this work? We affiliate ourselves with like-minded people, with people that have like the hearts that we all have in this room right now, virtually. Weird, you know, but it's we've become accustomed to it. Our children deserve it. I'm excited for you. I'm excited to hear what you're thinking after your sessions. And I really do hope that you get a lot out of it. And I guess I'll see you on the other side. And I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy to share with you. Thank you.